My project is called Radiating Mitosis, and here is the blog. We're going to start with the trailer.
I am not trying to seduce you.
When I entered the house, I was instantly seduced.
The process of division, splitting of a nucleus, the space of which we come, the inner and the external, the breaking off from the space into new space. Go back to where you belong. Siri, can you tell me where I belong? I really couldn't say. However, as I read, all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reason and conscience and should act toward one another in a spirit of brotherhood. All human beings are born. All humans are born. All are born. The birth is the forgotten, like the one of the universe. While searching for the birth, what attracts most is the unknown. The inner. It's black, but it's pink. It's soft, but it's tight. It's the absolute, but it isn't. It is wet, but there is no dry. He was fond of that mild warmth and frequently swam in there. The kid in the pool. Amniotic fluid, amber water, all that stuff. You might vocalize your thoughts later, but here in the dark, it's just sound, touch, and perception. Mucus, spit, fluid, egg white between your fingers, texture like heavy cream, body in gelatine, twisting, spiraling, a tube, a cable, lubricated in milk, clotted, 9-month-old. The external. The mother covered with a bathrobe, a membrane of remarkable fineness. The womb, the inner parts, is being formed by the union, deformation, and formation of several cloths, each of which has also a separate coat of its own, a room of multiplicity. Experience can transmit to the bodies in the womb, connected with their thoughts. This continual movement unleashes the unpredictable potential of a body to mutate. Differential difference. Just as the porous membrane closes and opens to 1,000 exchanges, desired or refused, sound and light, cold and odors, excrete and copulate, make it perceivable to the outside, and the house leaks, contaminating, spreading, the air swells, and presses itself out and wishes to escape in all direction in which movement is possible. And the water will be free to escape, and smoke pollution became sonic pollution, from the rooms within and out, from the universe without and in. And the contamination of holy things. All true holy things themselves cannot be contaminated. It follows that such sin is mortal in its genus. Light and radiation. Eyes open to the thick darkness. Did they really open? as there was nothing but darkness, nothing to be seen. You can hear, always out in the dark, and feel the terrible urgency of that blind, seeking fingers. Darkness. Nothing could equal the horrors of its old waste crypt, the digestive apparatus of Babylon, a cavern, ditch, gulf perceived with streets, a titanic mole burrow where the mind seems to behold that enormous blind mole, the past crawling through the shadows, which has been splendor. Punctually, light would shine. The difference in brightness between the lens and the dark wall around it also causes glare. A vacuum, void of life or mass, full of light and color. A photon, warmth. A neutrino. It can never touch you, neither can you. Perfect strangers. Here you can sense it. You can see, but you cannot touch, like the fisherman who looked into the until now empty water and astonished sees, therefore, a fish of 4 colors, white and red and blue and yellow. It has different flavors every time it appears. Your paths have crossed, but none will ever know. It really doesn't care. Then the eyes adapt to the return of darkness. Gas and vapor, where Charlotte can shut the door and go crazy. The entire bathing room tiled and protected from other parts of the house, and the public outdoors, enveloped in vapor, protected in gas. The bathroom can never be completely described. It contains a mystery. Gas, empty space, it's big, it's soft, you are floating. Can you even touch the ground? The proper elements of spirit. Surrounding the hypnotic play of water are myriad points of decision, ledges of varying form and dimension on which to stretch out, dangle limbs in cool water, a warm exhalation, steam, heat, fit of fainting, hysteria, a cold, the beginning of the universe, all boiling gas. Its first and foremost distinctive peculiarity is its grace. Its all undulation and variety of lines, one curve passing into the other, with the most exquisite softness, rolling away into faint and far outlines of various depth and decision, yet none hard or harsh, and in all probability, each form melting imperceptibly into the next, without an edge or angle. You can only grope your way out. Touch is all that remains. It is dark, mist in space, but it's not a poison, an incredibly attenuated mass of atoms that absorb and obscure the light. Otherwise, it's harmless, virtually undetectable. The fixed air we ought to suspend until the first effervescence, until we see something deeper than the agitation of a troubled and frothy substance. Liquid and fluid. They send each other the song of the birds, the perfume of the flowers, the smiles of the children, the light of the sun, the singings of the breeze, the rays of the stars, O creation. For necessarily they must always be changing by way of influx and influx, condensation and refraction, intensification and remission of qualities, the harmony and discord of temperament, and the rest of the changing motions, all in movement, ever changing, constantly generating itself, a space that you cannot grasp but can touch, heavy but fragile, just as we cannot step in the same water of a river twice, or similarly twice touch the same part of a moving wheel, so we cannot attain a disposition of a temperament of the body that remains entirely the same from one moment to the next. There in creation, ready-made parodies, a break which is not a break, wings which are not wings, jewels which are not jewels, pause which are not pause, and a cry of pain which arouses a desire to laugh. There's a duck. What he wants to attain, to hear, and make heard is the double melody, the function between two poles, to come and to go, the pillars of the of the two principles of the world that might lead her to suppose that everything was not as it should be, and that destruct is possible. About him, sprinkling the houses with holy water was his custom. Gelatin and fat. Uncanny substance, wet, smooth, one wants to touch it. Life can sprout in it. It's unstable. Is it going to explode or take me in? It's sensitive and fragile. It can break or become unbreakable. Is gravity or the build pressure going to win over? It has become the seed of which had been shown had fallen on fertile, receptive ground. The germination was so swift and growth so strong. On the gross level, mushrooms are showing growing off stones or enduring. Lichens cover every imaginable piece of rock or bark. Mosses grow in the dark crannies. Phallic growths are endlessly recorded. Algae, grasses, seaweed, and every kind of rampant growth are shown as much detail as possible. Touching the cloudy substance would make it turn or close very gracefully. But then I took one of them. In the ladle, it appeared only a colorless substance. Here is where it all comes to life. Unstable, but in movement, morphing, changing, shaping. The coming out. Talented, brilliant, incredible, amazing, show-stopping, spectacular. Never the same, totally unique, completely not ever been done before, unafraid to reference or not reference, put it in a blender, shit on it, vomit on it, eat it, give birth to it. So she gave birth to it. It darns the hole and goes further. The thing that jumps out of the pit when darkness falls turns out to be a construction of gelatin and ectoplasm. Water, still water, water without end. The water rushed out, the men screamed, Lord, have mercy on us. It must have the womb. Exiting the temple of a Jaina, it blew up soundlessly in a blinding blaze that for a tiny fraction of a second dimmed the galaxy and then was gone. It looks like a living thing crawling through space. Struck by the cold, it cries out. We became attached, and I deem and shall ever deem myself free. A birth of magnificent and magical proportions took place. On this day, the lace makers of Brussels pray to her, that their work may keep as white as snow. Solid and the frozen, that which is born. The thing is born, it's a statue of a sort, a hero. Frozen expression of primordial soup. Is it a genius or is it autistic? It now wants to play at being human. The amnestic desire to discover an echo or even a reflection of one's face in that of a house. The whole is transformed into a face. This face is not quite what he pictured. He cannot tell if he likes it. Before we take leave of the old world and pass to the new, I must advert to a subject. It is no longer enough to just look pretty anymore. Connected any point in a rhythm might be connected to any other and must be. The head of the Medusa was fabled to turn those into stone who looked upon it, stable, grounded, like a picture of a moment, a picture of the origin, the written and the frozen, history of the past. Life is now out of the house. It is now dry. Here, let dead poetry rise one more to life.